Hello. Safety officials in Japan say they suspect the reactor core at one of the units at the damaged Fukushima nuclear power plant may have been breached. It raises the possibility of more severe radioactive contamination to the environment. The plant's operators said tests of water at the plant's number 3 reactor had shown radioactive contamination some 10,000 times higher than normal levels. Well, Japan's Chief Cabinet Secretary Yukio Edano says the cause is still being looked at.
At this point, we do not consider that we are now facing a new situation. Rather, a certain level of radioactive materials may have leaked, as I have always mentioned. And we are currently looking into whether the leakage is from the reactor or from other parts, and we need to examine and investigate the situation.
Well, let's go live to our correspondents in Japan. Roland Burke is in Rikuzen, Takata, one of the towns worst affected by the earthquake and tsunami. But first, let's speak to Mark Worthington in Tokyo. Mark, let's just talk about this reactor some more. The worry being caused by levels of radioactivity in water they're talking about.
That's right. What sparked this whole scare is the levels of radiation found in the water yesterday, which harmed 2 of the workers who were struggling to reconnect the power supplies to the vital systems in reactor number 3. When that was tested, it was found to contain 10,000 times the normal level of radiation, a very high level, and one which has led the authorities here to say that that might indicate that there's a possible damage to the reactor there, reactor number 3. Key words to pick up on, though: possible. No one's saying that there definitely is damage. No one's saying that whatever damage there is definitely to the reactor core. They're stressing that there are a number of other possibilities. It could be the pools where the spent fuel rods are, or a variety of other parts of the reactor building. But needless to say that this appears to be a major setback. We've already heard that the incident yesterday will cause delays in the work at the plant, and now they find themselves with a new priority, having to identify the precise source of this leak so that they can ascertain precisely what the problem is and indeed how serious it is.
And Mark, I'd imagine the authorities certainly not wanting to frighten or panic people, but how are people responding there to yet more bad news?
Well, it's perhaps interesting that in the Japanese media this latest development is not being highlighted as much as it is in the foreign media. That might be a sign of the will not to panic people. So it's quite hard to gauge the precise reaction to this news here. But it all comes as the general atmosphere is one of uncertainty. We've heard various indicators that radiation is certainly spreading in some ways. We've got the various food warnings for those items produced in the vicinity of the plant. Then, of course, the issue of tap water. People in Tokyo told just 2 days ago that levels of radiation in the tap water were double the safety limit for infants, and therefore those under the age of 1 advised not to drink it. That has now come down here. It is safe again, we're told, but levels elsewhere have gone up. So no one can be quite sure what that means, or indeed quite sure whether what they're drinking is indeed entirely safe. And it's that uncertainty that means, despite the Japanese government assurances, there is a level of worry here, although it would be too far to say that the worry is panic.
Mark Worthington in Tokyo. Mark, thanks very much. Well, let's talk to our correspondent, Roland Burke, who's in Rikuzen, Takata, one of the towns worst affected by the earthquake and tsunami. And Roland, I mean, what is the scene like there now, 2 weeks to the day after this disaster?
Well, 2 weeks on, they're building temporary homes. This is a school, and this is a playground. They're building 36 houses here. They can house 120 people. The problem is, in the school behind me, there are 1,000 people who are living in the school hall. They're living on blankets that is laid out on the floor. Some have tried to create some privacy for themselves by putting around chairs. So what they're going to do is prioritise the very elderly, those with very young children, and everybody else, they're just going to have to put their name into a hat and hope they're lucky and get one of these first new houses that have been built.
Yeah, Roland, I mean, what's the immediate future and indeed the medium-term future for all these displaced people?
Well, it's very difficult for people to know what to do. If they go to the hill just over there, they can look down on the town and see it entirely flattened, washed away by the tsunami. Not just people's homes, but many people's businesses as well. And people are wondering what they're going to do in the long term, because they don't want to go back down there, they say. And apparently people inside the hall in this school, they've been telling us that neighbours have been getting together and discussing how they can recreate their neighbourhood somewhere away from the sea, up in the mountains perhaps, because they're afraid to go back.
Roland Burke in Rikuzen Takata for the moment. Roland, thanks very much.